In August 1931 at Rianjo, Spain, Jesus gave a very important message. There he told Sister Lucia Fatima that he was displeased because the Pope and the Catholic bishops have not yet obeyed his command that they solemnly and publicly consecrate Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Jesus said to Sister Lucy, "Make it known to my ministers that given they follow the example of the King of France in delaying the execution of my command, like him, they will follow him into misfortune," etc.
First of all, where is Rianjo? Rianjo is a small city in Spain. If you go north from Lisbon, Portugal, heading into Spain, you will cross the border at Tui. An hour north of Tui on the main highway is Pontevedra. If you go straight up to that highway, due west of the coast, you come to Rianjo. Because of all the commotion surrounding the church's formal approval of the Fatima apparitions in 1931, Sister Lucia was physically and mentally exhausted to the point that her health was endangered. She rested and recuperated in the house of a relative of the Mother Superior living in that quiet coastal town, where Sister Lucia would be unknown and undisturbed. More importantly, it was there that our Lord spoke to her these words: "Make it known to my ministers, given that they followed the example of the King of France in delaying the execution of my command, they will likewise follow him into misfortune." What is this reference to the King of France? On June 17, 1689, our Lord commanded the King of France to consecrate France to his Sacred Heart. For 100 years to the day, the kings of France refused to obey. Then on June 17, 1789, King Louis XVI of France was stripped of his power by the uprising of the Third Estate, declaring itself to be the National Assembly and claiming that the power to legislate for France now resided in them and not the king. Soon after, the king was arrested and imprisoned, and finally, about 4 years later, he was publicly executed at the guillotine. While this warning from our Lord gives a suggestion of a timeline, Father Gruner states that it is not necessarily 100 years.
Our Lord didn't say that they had 100 years. He just made the allusion to the fact that the King of France delayed, and therefore he paid for it in the neck. Literally, he lost his head. He was killed. He was murdered. He was executed as if he were a criminal, and by the French Revolution. Now, these band of thieves and thugs were what they were and what they did. They killed the king. But this is what's going to happen to the Pope if he doesn't do the consecration in time. Now, what is on time? The question is asking. Now, I would say the sooner the better, because remember that when Our Lady said the moment, she didn't say the day, the hour, the week. She said the moment. So the moment has come in 1929. Every moment of delay makes it harder to do.
While many popes have attempted to consecrate Russia, we are still wondering, will Our Lady's request be fulfilled correctly and in time? Well, some think it'll be too late. Why? In 2 books published by Dr. Antonio Maria Martins, S.J. in 1973 and in 1976, Sister Lucia's letters of our Lord's words are documented. Both include photocopied images of Sister Lucia's original documents in her own handwriting, and on the facing pages, types of transcriptions and translations. First column being in Portuguese, exactly what Sister Lucia wrote, and the 2 other columns in various languages. The 1973 version includes translations in French and English, and the 1976 version includes translations in Spanish and Italian. Both books are titled Memorias y Cartas da Irmã Lucia, the memoirs and letters of Sister Lucia. In the 1973 version, the English translation states that our Lord says, "They will do it, but it will be too late." However, the Portuguese says something different.
Occasionally, the English, I can tell you, there's one place that says, that he will do the consecration, but it will be too late, they say in English. But the Portuguese clearly says, doesn't say it's too late, it says it will be late. It obviously is late, it's late today for sure.
So in these words, our Lord warns, even threatens, his ministers with a terrible chastisement for their disobedience. At the same time, he gives advice to all of us here. While he complains about the delay of his ministers, he goes on to say, they will do it, but it will be late. He then, so to speak, turns his attention to us, the faithful and priests, who obviously don't have the power to consecrate a country as the Pope and bishops do, and says, it is never too late to have recourse to Jesus and Mary.